G'day guys, how you going? Hope you're doing awesome. Now this evening I'm going to be doing a film review. Now something a little bit different. I apologise to all you horror fans out there, but this will not be a horror film I'm reviewing. This is something totally different. Um, an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. It's a clay animated film from Australia. Now if you don't like animated films, I urge you to stay with me here. This is unlike any other animated film you've seen. It's a lot different from the Pixar sort of stuff. It's where Pixar is targeted towards adults and children. This film here is directed more to the adults because it's got quite a dark subject matter. But anyway, see, Adam Elliott, the brilliant clay animated director from Australia, directed this film. He's directed a lot of short clay animated films. His most famous short being Harvey Crumpet, which won an Academy Award for Best Short Animated Film. And I think this is his first feature. I could be wrong. I couldn't be bothered going and looking it up, so I'm going to say it's his first feature film. If I'm wrong, then feel free to correct me. So this is his 2009 effort, Mary and Max. Now this is about a little girl named Mary Daisy Dinkle. She's a chubby, lonely 8-year-old girl living in the suburbs of Melbourne. Now she's got no friends, no one to look up to. Her parents are useless. Her father is a bit weird and pretty much non-existent in her life. And her mother is a raving alcoholic who puts her down at any given opportunity. So Mary is very sad. It's a very lonely world and no role models. So she's stuck. She doesn't know what to do. And all she wants is to have a friend. So one day she accompanies her mother to the post office, and while her mother is stealing stuff from this post office, she decides to get this international phone book, open it up, and just point to a random name, and that is where she's going to write to, and hopefully she'll get a reply. So she writes to this name, and she posts a letter, and she waits for this reply, and she finally gets one. And the person that she's writing to is Max Horowitz. He's a 44-year-old, severely obese Jewish man with Asperger's syndrome living in the chaos of New York. And these two totally different people create this extraordinary friendship that lasts for 20 years, and the movie pretty much follows this friendship through its ups and downs. Now I know what you're thinking, 44-year-old befriending an 8-year-old, it's kind of suspect, but I can assure you there's nothing sinister in this movie, nothing inappropriate in this movie. Max has the mentality of someone much, much younger. He has no idea about love, so yeah, he doesn't have any inappropriate thoughts towards this 8-year-old girl. He's corresponding with this girl for the right reasons, to make a friendship, and because they're both very lonely people, and they both share their problems. Mary, her problem is she's very young, and she just wants a friend, and she has a lot of problems. She has a pretty unhappy um, household that she lives in, and yes, she just wants someone to, I guess, become a friend with. And Max, he's, as I said, Asperger's syndrome sufferer, so he deals with a lot of autism. He's a depressive, and he suffers from chronic anxiety attacks. So when faced with a problem, Max will just go to the corner of his room and just um, worry. Um, and that's pretty much how he's lived his life. So a very dark film. An all-star cast for the voiceovers. I'm not sure who plays Mary Daisy Dinkle when she was young, but when she's older, Toni Collette is the voiceover, famous Australian actress. The voiceover for Max Horowitz is Philip Seymour Hoffman. The narrator of the film is Barry Humphries, who plays a character of Dame Edna Everage. You may have heard of that character, but he plays the narrator in this film. And Eric Bana, the famous Australian actor, plays Mary Daisy Dinkle's love interest when they're older. So yes, it touches on some very dark, misunderstood subjects. Not a lot of people understand about these mental illness like depression, anxiety. If you're like me, like 5 years ago, I had cancer, and as a result of that, I developed depression and an anxiety disorder, and I'm still suffering from that to this day. And I can really relate to the main character of Max, and this is why this film has a special sort of place for me. Now, while I've never been obese, I've never had a problem with weight, because I've always been so active in sport. I don't have Asperger's syndrome, but yeah, I do have depression and anxiety. And for anybody who has these kind of illnesses, this film, the director, I'm not sure if he has had depression in his life himself, but he seems to nail the actual feeling of a depressive perfectly. The mood suits the movie and it suits the theme of depression. A very bleak world. Now, they're bleak for both worlds. Mary Daisy Dinkle's and Max Horowitz's worlds are very bleak, but there's a bit more colour for Mary's, maybe because she's very young and still got a lot of years left in her. But Max, his world is a lot more grey. There's hardly any colour in it at all. And for those of you who have depression, some days you wake up and the world is very grey. There's not a lot of sunlight, and you don't enjoy things much. You just sit there, and that's exactly what the feel to this film is. Absolute masterpiece, one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. I know that's a very big call, but it's just an amazing film. There's a bit of comedy thrown into it for good measure. There's actually a funny thought process from Max. He writes, Mary asks Max where he thinks babies come from, and Max replies and says that his mother always told him that if you were a Catholic, you were born because a nun would lay an egg. If you were Jewish, you were born because a rabbi laid an egg, and if you were atheist, you were born because a dirty, lonely prostitute laid an egg. So very far out beliefs that this Max had been brought up on. So it's really kind of funny, but it's sad at the same time. You're not going to have um, happy feelings or sad feelings. It's not clear cut. You're kind of caught in between. So even while the funny things are happening, you still kind of feel sad for Max because he's very socially awkward. He doesn't fit in, and his social awkwardness creates funny moments, but you still feel sorry for the guy um, because he doesn't have a very happy life. But it is very sweet in the fact that this friendship lightens up their life. And by the end of the film, this very bleak feel to it is a lot more colourful. And so I thought the director did an excellent job at the mood of the film. There's a lot of, as I said, obviously there's mental illness, a lot of talk about friendship, autism, taxidermy, psychiatry, alcoholism, where babies come from, obesity, sexual difference, trust, religious beliefs, a religious difference, and agoraphobia. It was actually pretty funny that Mary Daisy Dinkle, her next door neighbour, is scared of going outside, and she thinks it's an illness called homophobic. So just a very innocent sort of humour to this film. But there's a attempted suicide theme, also an attempted suicide scene in this film that was, it was pretty heartbreaking to see. So this is definitely not a film for children. There are funny parts, but there are some pretty touching, sort of depressing parts in it as well. The end won't leave you happy, but it won't leave you sad. It'll leave you once again in the middle. Um, yeah, it's very, very real, and I can relate to this film. Um, so that's probably why this gets the nod over Let the Right One In, Just. And I hope Adam Elliott makes some more films because this was just absolutely fantastic. And even if you're not a fan of this kind of stuff, I urge you to go out and see it because it's very real. Mental illness, very, very misunderstood. And yeah, it's probably the best movie to deal with these sort of issues. So that's Mary and Max. I highly recommend this film. Get out there and see it. It is an absolute masterpiece, and yeah, my favourite film. And so yeah, that's my review. I hope it was useful, and I will see you guys later. Bye.